Over 1,700 new millionaires are created every single day in the US alone, and more than double that across the globe. They're people from all walks of life, most of them people just like you and I. So the big question is this: how are so many people who didn't inherit money or have any special advantages overcoming the odds and becoming millionaires? That's the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is Jeff Lerner, and welcome to Millionaire Secrets. And welcome back to another episode of Millionaire Secrets. Appreciate you joining us for another fascinating conversation. I'm joined today by a gentleman named Kent Clothier, who I am really interested in. I've been researching. It's my first opportunity to actually get to meet Kent, but I've been researching him, and he's got an amazing story, a ton of value to share, and selfishly, I have a million questions for him. So I'm glad I get to have my questions answered and serve our audience as well. Kent, welcome to Millionaire Secrets.
Thanks for having me, brother. My pleasure to be here.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate so much you being here. And if you're okay with it, I want to skip all the polite stuff and just dive right in.
Let's rock.
Okay, great. So you are the CEO and founder of Real Estate Worldwide, and you sell, you guys do real estate education, right?
Yeah, Real Estate Worldwide does. It sells education, sells software, sells coaching and mentorship, et cetera, all the way down the line from start to finish.
So here's what I know from my research that I've done already is you are not like, sadly, many of the quote gurus online who teach real estate, who teach online business, like, which is kind of more my world. You didn't just like close one deal or make one $5,000 commission check and then go, I'll bet, I'm going to be a guru now and start a business teaching it, right? From what I can tell, you've done a lot of business in real estate and frankly, a lot of business prior to real estate too. Can you tell me how you got into real estate?
Yeah, I had a lot of success in another business, which I'm sure we can talk about later. But I'm a product of one of those late night infomercials. Back in the days before social media was what it was. We've all seen them every night. Some guys, some girls on there talking about how you can make money in real estate, and I had just effectively hit rock bottom. Had lost millions and millions of dollars, and was at a place where, quite frankly, I didn't really trust myself a lot, but I was just, let's just call it desperate enough and back up against the wall enough that I needed a break. And so I went to go check out what they were talking about at one of these real estate events. And ironically, what they were talking about was a term called wholesaling inside of real estate, which I'd never even heard before, which is basically the ability to control a piece of property contractually. Without ever actually buying and selling it. Basically get a property under contract and then quickly flip your interest in that contract to another buyer, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't ever really physically buy the property. You basically, the contract that you are creating is the asset. And so I was very fascinated by that. Made an investment, got educated, and gravitated to it, quickly figured out that I was good at it, was back on my feet in just a matter of just a few short months and was doing a lot of business. By anybody's measure, right? Somebody who's new to the business shouldn't be doing 90 to 100 deals in their first year, but that's exactly what I was doing. And so, fast forward a couple of years later, after I'd gotten my feet up underneath me and felt really good about what I was doing, I had a big epiphany because I was about to get married, about to have a new little girl come into my life. And so a baby girl come into my life. And I figured out that I didn't own a business, man. I owned a job, right? I was a hustler. I was a guy that knew how to make money, but I didn't know how to make money unless I was pressing the gas. And so I got really very driven, very motivated, very intentional on taking a lot of things that I learned over the years in the previous life and turning this little wholesaling operation into a really, into a real business, right? Systems, automation, technology, et cetera, people. And before I knew it, we were doing 300-400 deals a year. And, then it was 600-700 deals a year. Now it's 800 or 900 deals a year, just buying and flipping properties. And we do a lot more as we have become better at it over the last 18 years, we have, we do a lot of different things in real estate now, but that's really how it started. That's how I got into it. I just became very fascinated that with, quite frankly, a little bit of ambition, a lot of intentional actions, but very little training. It's a business that you could step into and make a lot of money very, very quickly and help a lot of people. And so those are things that were very, very appealing to me all the way around. And so, as the story goes, I just have made the most of it throughout all the years. Then, as you alluded to earlier, one thing led to another. Before too long, people were paying a lot of attention to what I was doing, what our company was doing, and some of the software and tools that we had created to make our own businesses very successful. And so when the recession hit back in 2008 through 2012, a lot of real estate investors got hurt. A lot of people went down with the ship, and we were just a company that had figured out a method that didn't rely on credit, didn't rely on banks, didn't rely on any of that kind of stuff, and we figured out how to do it through, like I said, by creating software and tools that made our life very easy. And so before you knew it, people were asking me to sell them the software and tools. And next thing you know, I'm in a software business, and then I'm in an education business and a coaching business. And now fast forward here, basically 12 years later, and we have a second side of our business, Real Estate Worldwide, that has now had over 52,000 students come through our ranks here. And, it's been a hell of a journey.
Well, first of all, it's an amazing story. And I appreciate you sharing it. I'm actually struggling right now because I while you were talking, I thought of like 9 questions, and now I have to pick one to ask. When did you start? I guess when did you start wholesaling, and then immediate follow up? When did you start Real Estate Worldwide on the education side?
I started wholesaling January of 2003 is when I closed my very first deal.
Okay.
And by June of 2008 is when we officially started Real Estate Worldwide. And, prior to that, like I said, I had no desire, quite frankly, you alluded to it earlier, but everything I knew about the real estate education space was a bunch of clowns and carnival barkers teaching people how to do something because they've been doing it for a hot minute. And I wanted no part of it. And ironically, I had a very good friend and mentor who was pulling me and pushing me and telling me I needed to get out there and really help some people and educate some people. And I did it kicking and screaming because I just thought, basically everybody was full of it and wanted nothing to do with that industry at all. But he made a really valid point to me. He's like, well, let me just help you with something. You have the ability to help millions of people. And if you don't step in and give them the truth, then you have doomed all of them to listen to the carnival barkers. And it was a pretty profound observation. And it was just enough to kind of push me forward into something that, needless to say, I've been very, very happy about that decision since then.
And that was, you said 2008 is when you actually started that?
Right, exactly.
I just want to share, kind of a resonance. I teach online business, right? I teach kind of the primary online business categories, affiliate marketing. I teach digital agency. I teach creating courses. And I totally resonate with what you're saying where, when you've done the actual business enough and been successful at the actual business that you don't decide to become a guru as a profits, with a profit motive, at least initially. I mean, I think business people like making money. It's probably not something to apologize for, but that's not the original impetus. It's like, man, do I really want to take this on? But then you realize, and at least for me on the internet, it sounds like it's the same with real estate. 99% of the people that people are learning from haven't actually been successful in the underlying business. And they're giving them not only maybe perhaps skewed information, but just a ridiculously skewed sense of what it actually takes to be successful. That was the thing that drove me nuts online. And I'm curious if it's true in real estate too, is it's not so much that like the information itself was inaccurate. I mean, ClickBank works the way ClickBank works. If somebody's teaching about ClickBank and showing what it does, it's kind of hard to not do that with accuracy. But just the underlying, overnight results, turnkey, plug and play, microwave results kind of ethos, that's what drove me nuts. And I want to be the guy going, no, bullshit on all that, man. You're going to grind for a year. And if you do that, then you've earned the right to hopefully make $1 and see a result. And then, it's like almost like SEAL training, right? Like try to scare people off. Is that how it is in real estate? Like people just make it sound so easy?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's how it is in just about any biz op type business, right? I mean, the world is now, we live in an amazing, but also very odd world today, right? In that people's attention spans, they're quite literally being trained to think in 15, 30-second increments, right? I mean, everybody's got ADD, right? Let me grab the attention with the alarming headline as fast as I possibly can, and then try to get you to run down the rabbit hole with me. And so in an effort, people are being trained to think that way. They're being trained to consume information that way, which naturally makes them believe the bullshit, and it's just easier to sell the junk than it is the truth. And the reality of it is that those people, when they get down that, the confusion sets in, the frustration sets in, and then, I refer to them in my business all the time, the dream killers have won, right? They basically got their buck and they walked away, and they get to go and do whatever the hell they want. And they've shattered somebody else's dreams of what it really looks like to own a business, where if somebody had just been honest with them from the very beginning and prepared them and could have saved them all the frustration, all the brain damage, all of the aggravation. That is just a natural part of starting a business, right? If you're not prepared for that, if you don't have somebody in your corner telling you this is what, here's the analogy I use quite often in my own business, right? Is that, if I picked up the phone and said to anybody, listen, I've read every book on what it takes to become an MMA champion. I've watched every YouTube video on the internet. I've listened to every podcast. I've done everything that I can possibly do to get ready to become an MMA champion. I think I'm ready for the UFC title. Put me in the ring. And somebody said, well, have you actually ever gotten in the ring yet? No, I didn't realize that I actually had to get in the ring and get the shit beat out of me. I didn't know I needed a coach in my corner to sit there and tell me, hey, do this, do this. I didn't know I needed thousands of hours inside of the ring to sit there and, get choked out and get the bumps, the bruises, the broken arms, the broken ribs, the whatever. I didn't realize I needed to do that. Somebody, because I just thought I could just go on the internet and get all the information. And that's what happens in business every single day. If I said that to somebody, they would be like, you sound like an insane person. But it's what people do every single day when it comes to these business opportunities. They don't understand it. You actually have to get in the ring. You actually have to get choked out. You actually have to get bumped and bruised and knocked down and beat up. And then you got to go back to a corner and have a coach sit there and tell you, man, all right, here's what you did wrong. Here's what you did right. Now get back in there and go fight again. And you would never expect in the real world, in a UFC, any kind of MMA setting, you would never expect to be on top of the world and be anything like a champion without paying the price. And, if you're going to try to be the champion of your own life, if you're going to try to build a business and build something that matters and actually be successful, you have to be prepared to pay the price. And just because somebody is selling you get rich quick and making it seem like you don't have to do it doesn't make it, real. This is reality. This is the real world. Anybody that walks into business and doesn't understand that and doesn't, get exposed to that, quite frankly, it's the exact same analogy. It sounds as insane to me as somebody saying they wanted to get into get in the ring with a champion and get the crap beat out of them and think that they even had a shot at winning. That's just not the way the real world works.
Yeah, I totally resonate, man. It does. It sounds as insane to me as what you just described. When somebody's like, man, they get on and say, how fast can I quit my job? I'm like, I don't know. What's your pain tolerance? What's your endurance? What's your stamina? What's your previous experience? Like, how fast does your system work? How fast can I make money with your program? It's like you say, man, everybody's like, man, I hope I get a result fast enough that I don't lose focus. I don't run out of my 90-second hourglass of attention. And
you can, and the analogies go on and on and on. If somebody came to you and Hey, I want to take, I want to become a pilot. How fast you think I can get this done? How fast you think I can be flying a commercial airline? Can I get it done in 30 days? I'm really kind of aggravated with my job over at Subway. You think I can become an airline pilot in 30 days? You're like, bro, you clearly understand you sound like a crazy person right now, but it's the same thing.
But so let me ask the same question from the flip side. If somebody went online and said, 30 days to get your pilot's license, no previous experience required, no technical skills required, no education required, come one, come all, we guarantee you'll be a pilot earning multiple six figures at a tier 1 airline in 30 days. That nobody would believe that ad.
Right.
Ditto for the fighting analogy. Why do people believe it when it comes to making money?
It's because they are preconditioned, again, through all of it is much easier to buy into the dream that is arbitrary than it is and to buy into something that is extremely tangible, right? And when somebody talks about internet or flipping houses or these little things that seem like they're get rich quick, right? Because there's plenty of people that sell it that way. There is a segment of the market that wants to believe that that's real. Where, to your point, if you just took out the how-to thing and inserted something that's tangible and practical that we've been preconditioned to understand is hard work, it sounds insane. There's just not enough people in the market talking about whether it's internet marketing or whether it's building a digital agency or whether it's building a wholesaling business. There's not enough people that talk about that it is a real business and can be. It's much easier to talk to people about, let me get you a side hustle going, right? I mean, that's the new little word, right? Let me figure out how to make it, which is effectively just a different way. Let me show you how to make a quick buck.
Right.
But that's the reason why guys like us stand out, right? Because we are contrarian. I mean, I'm just going to tell you the truth. If you don't want to hear it, then don't buy it. But the truth is what it is. It's very simple. This is work. This is business. But if you build assets that will pay you just forever, then that's a business. It's real simple to figure out if you have a business or a job. Because we've both been in the first stages of building a business. When you leave or you go do something and you get into the hustle and the grind, which is part of it, don't kid yourself. You do not own a business in any way, shape, or form. You own a job. Because if you, and again, the litmus test is just leave, stop. Right. And if the money stops, then guess what? You own a job, baby. That's what it is. Nothing more, nothing less. Might be a great paying job, but if it is 100% dependent on you, it is not a business. Mm-hmm. And so in order to build a business, guys like us and others more have to be talking about that, man, it is okay to go build the side hustle. It's okay to go out there and go make a few bucks. But if you want a life, if you want freedom, then it's going to require you to make sacrifices. It's going to require you to evolve as an entrepreneur, and it's going to require you to put systems and processes and people and automation and things that are very unnatural and uncomfortable for a lot of people. You're going to have to all be in place. And when those things are in place, man, you got something. Until then, you got work to do. And if you want to know how that's done and you want the truth on how it's done, you come to guys like us. If you want to know how to go make a quick buck and, go buy the dream and have somebody potentially, make this seem a hell of a lot easier than it really is, there's plenty of people that are willing to sell you that.
It occurs to me because as now that we've sort of posed this question, I'm like, man, why is that? Why is it that nobody would ever believe that you could become a pilot in 30 days with no previous experience, but somebody would believe you can become a successful, real estate wholesaler in 30 days with no previous experience, or a successful affiliate marketer in 30 days, And I'm thinking, I think it's because I'm always trying to look for like how to stitch things together, these little isolated data points, how to stitch them together to come up with like operable philosophies in life, right? Things I can run my life by. And I feel like there's a truth emerging here, which is that the more pain is associated with a thing, the more susceptible we are to an illusion that would theoretically relieve the pain. Like nobody is frankly in great distress by the fact that they're not a pilot. So they're not as susceptible to a lie that there's an easy way to relieve that distress because nobody's in that distress. But people are in great distress because they don't have money.
Mm-hmm.
And they are in great distress because they're overweight and they hate their body and they feel shame. And they are in great distress because they feel ugly and they can't get a date. And those are the three industries where you tend to find a lot of BS promises, right? It's love, it's health, and it's business opportunities. And people are so desperate. So to me, I'm like, okay, from a conditioning standpoint, pain equals intolerable pain equals susceptibility to manipulation. So the way I can increase my susceptibility to manipulation is to make pain more tolerable. Therefore, let me get my ass out of bed. Let me go do hard things at the gym. Let me have hard conversations with my wife. Let me do all the shit that's in my control to create discomfort so that when the time comes, I won't be easily manipulated by somebody promising to alleviate my discomfort.
Right. I think it's a great observation. Great observation.
And it's funny, man. You know, I've had dozens of these. I think this is episode number 60 or so. I'm not counting, but I've had a lot of these really great conversations with brilliant, successful people like yourself. And I find that, frankly, we're not all that creative and we're not all that different. We've just decided certain things are true that maybe other people haven't yet decided are true, and they want other things to be true. And this concept seems to pop up again and again and again and again around discipline, conditioning, grit, and just willingness to work hard and stay uncomfortable for an extended period of time. Because in your story, I'm hearing you, what I'm guessing, and wholesaling, by the way, is not like some easy push button business. Like from what I know, tell me if I'm wrong, but you have to like go out and like knock doors or cold call people or right. Like you're interrupting.
You're definitely interacting with people over the phone
but you're interrupting them, right?
Right. Well, I mean, it can be for sure. I mean, either through marketing channels, they're picking up the phone and calling you or you're calling them. But the bottom line is you have a distressed seller, somebody who's looking to get out of their house and looking to potentially sell it at a discount for cash. There's some crisis in their life that you're having to address on the phone with them for sure, or face to face. I mean, to your point, it's not like you just get to sit behind a computer and just do this, right? There is engagement on multiple levels here that requires, attention to detail, and in order for you to be successful at it. It is not like day trading stocks, right? There is definitely human interaction here, and it can be chaotic, and it can be disruptive, and it can be emotional, like business should be, quite frankly. But I do think, to your point earlier, that I think that the common thread in almost every successful person that I've ever met, right? And I'm extremely fortunate. I run in some fairly significant circles now, and I've never met anybody that did not have two really important ingredients. I think is they have a relationship with discomfort, to your point, with pain that is very healthy. They understand that pain, fear, failure, whatever you want to call it, all of those things are just part of the process, right? It is not something that they run from in any way, shape, or form. It is everything they want is through solving that problem, solving those big problems, putting themselves in situations where they're uncomfortable enough to get the answer. And they do it over and over and over again. The second thing that they have an amazing relationship with is time. They just simply all value time very differently than the mom and pop running up and down the streets. That I would tell you that almost everybody that I know, they view time as extremely finite and an extremely valuable resource, currency, in fact, and it's the only thing that matters. And they're going to make the most of every minute of every day that is humanly possible. They're not going to waste any portion of it if that is, if they can. And I think when you combine those two things, a strong desire to succeed and willing to pay the price, and you're in a hurry to get to all the good stuff in your life, as fast as you can. That's a really lethal combination that makes things super exciting as an entrepreneur.
So I love what you just said. I want to like camp on it for a second. Takeaway moment here. Developing a very healthy relationship with discomfort, coupling that with a very healthy relationship with an appreciation of the value of time. And by the way, we use the term healthy in perhaps a different way than people that don't agree with us or aren't living like us would say. They might say, relax, smell the roses, take a break. You know, why are you always in such a hurry? You're going to give yourself a heart attack. And, you know, it's like, I mean, that whole like, chill out, bro. That just drives me nuts. I appreciate
Well, I mean, look, it takes all kinds, right? Not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody's cut out to be, you know, wildly successful. Not everybody's cut out to live, you know, extraordinary lives. There's the world's filled with people that have amazing lives that have nothing to do with wealth or success or entrepreneurship, right? I've spent a lot of time in Haiti, a lot of time in Nicaragua and Costa Rica. There are people that are extremely content and they make, you know, $5,000 a year. And so it takes all kinds. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, like if you're trying to create, you know, what by most measures would be an exceptional life, then I think it is extremely important that those two factors are, you know, to your point, we'll call it healthy, whatever you want to call it, that you have a very good understanding and appreciation for what the value of both of those things are. And if you don't, then it's going to be a very rough and bumpy road for you as an entrepreneur. Anybody, to your point, any entrepreneur that you meet, you can almost in a matter of seconds tell how successful they're going to be, because of their attitude towards time or towards, you know, what it takes are not are congruent, and they're not in alignment with what we know to be true. You understand what their fate's going to be almost immediately, right? Somebody that tells you, I'll get to it next week, next month, next year. We're looking at it maybe down the quarter. I'll consider it way down the line, whatever it is, right? That generally speaking, and again, it's not a blanket statement. It's not, you know, completely true, but in most cases, that's a very clear indication of where that business or where that person is headed. Because I can tell you that, again, almost everybody that I know, the value that they place on time and this moment, this opportunity in front of them, it's not even that they're in a hurry. It's that they just don't want to waste a minute. That's probably the easiest way to say it. They understand it's finite, right? You don't have to be in a hurry. You just got to understand that this minute, this moment, the time we're spending together right now actually matters. There's an impact that can be created by everything we do. And so to be sitting around and acting like these moments don't matter, whether they're with your kids or in your business or with your significant whatever, is just reckless and irresponsible. It's just silly, because nothing can be further from the truth. They all matter.
Well, it sounds like entrepreneurs and, you know, successful people, prosperous people basically think about time the way most people think about money. They're like, sure. don't take my $5. That's my $5. And that's how I'm like, don't take my 5 seconds. That's my 5 seconds. Right.
Right.
I'll invest it now to create more of the other.
100%. A really good, I'm good friends with Ed Milet, and he has a great thing he just shared on a recent podcast I did with him, where he was talking about that he has meetings in only 8-minute or 24-minute increments, period. Like every meeting is either 8 minutes or 24 minutes, no more, no less. It is what it is. And think about how succinct that would drive your life, right? It's like, if you can't get it done in 8 minutes, you got 24, but if you can't get it done 24, peace out. Like, we're moving.
Right.
And I mean, that's and you know, he runs his life in 3 6-hour days, right? And then sleeps for 6 hours at night. And I mean, it's, when you think about what that accomplishes, effectively in a 7-day week, he gets 21 days. I mean, It's no wonder the guy's worth $400 million and does everything he does, right? And lives this extraordinary life. He's gotten there 3 times faster than anybody else.
Yeah, that's a great point. He lives 3 years per year. So, okay. So speaking of all this, let's take these concepts and, look at them applied. You said in your first year wholesaling, you did 90 or 100 deals.
Yep. 91 deals. Exactly. Yep.
So, well, that's not fair. I thought you said it was hard and it was going to take a long time. Tell me what empowered that.
Desperation. Right.
Nice.
That's what motivated that. I had just built a really large company from the time I was 17 till the time I was 30 in an arbitrage business where I was effectively buying and selling truckloads of groceries of all things. And a lot of people won't understand the business, but just think about it. There's 42,000 items in any grocery store, and roughly 25,000 of those items manufacturers are selling at different prices to different stores and different markets all over the world. And then so they create this super inefficient pricing structure. Like, so in one market, Colgate toothpaste could be selling for $50 a case in Miami, and the exact same product with the exact same, little UPC barcode could be selling for $100 a case in New York City. Same item, everything is exactly the same, except they're selling it for different prices because, of pricing structure. So a guy like me, at 17, figured that out, started buying it by the truckload out the back door of a lot of stores and wholesalers and distributors. And then I would turn around and put it on a truck and ship it to other markets. And so from 17 to 30, I built a really big business that ultimately became, a huge company doing almost $2 billion a year. Right after my 30th birthday, I had a run-in with my partners and ultimately walked out of that company and spent the next 2 or 3 years being really pissed off and agitated and trying to, getting caught up in lawsuits and start competitive businesses, and just did a lot of things out of spite and just being irritated and pissed off. And quite frankly, none of it worked. And in the end, I effectively, bled myself dry. Learned a very valuable lesson that a lot of times when you're in lawsuits going back and forth, it isn't about winning and losing. And a lot of times it's about bleeding the other one to death. And that's exactly what happened, right? I lost millions of dollars and ultimately would have my back up against the wall. And so not only had I lost everything financially from a personal level, houses, cars, wealth, but, I'd gotten a divorce. I was a rock star inside of an industry, small niche industry that I was a god in. My reputation was gone. I had nowhere to turn. And so I was at a really, really low point at 30 years old, 32 years old now. And so at 32, man, my back was against the wall. I didn't believe in myself anymore. I had been humbled and humiliated all the way down, which was great medicine for me. I didn't know it then, but it's exactly what I needed because I did not believe that I could lose prior to that, right? I've been so successful for so long that I just believed my own bullshit. And so all those lessons were extremely valuable. I didn't see that then. I clearly see it now, but they were good lessons that I needed to learn. But when I'm, just desperate enough and at the, the last fourth quarter, 10 seconds left, Hail Mary, I got to figure out something because I don't know what else to do. Right. I mean, it's either this or do something desperate that, just make it all stop. Right. And I was having those types of thoughts.
Yeah.
And luckily fell into, like I said, went to an event, saw what I saw, only had $4,000 left in the bank, went and made $1,000 investment in a wholesale course, which, any way you cut that, it was 25% of my net worth. And I had made nothing but bad financial decisions for 2.5 years. So to say that I was terrified of that decision would be putting it very mildly. But it was the perfect ingredients. The training was good and I was desperate. And I applied myself. I started taking massive action because I had nothing to lose. Everything I ever had was already gone. So what the hell did I have to lose? And before you knew it, I had done my first deal in a matter of 3 weeks. January 22nd. I'll never forget it when I cashed my first check for $8,200 on Coral Springs, Florida. And man, I remember sitting in the parking lot of the title company and bursting into tears, grown-ass man, because I had just created revenue, income from nothing. And I had no reputation. I had no previous knowledge. I had no, I wasn't counting on anything I'd ever done before, but I'd done it. And, as that when you get that first deal or first whatever, first transactions, you know, that dopamine rush hits and you're like, man, I like this. That adrenaline hits. I can do this. And I just became obsessed with doing as much as I could, as fast as I could. I knew I never wanted to be broke again. I knew I never wanted to be desperate again. I knew I never wanted to be, you know, eating ramen noodles and buying rice by a 25-pound bag again. And I just knew I just didn't want to go back there. And so I was highly motivated to never revisit a very, very bad place. And that was enough to make me never take my foot off the gas for a long time, because I just knew how that felt. And it was so real for me that I just didn't want it anymore.
So that was 17 years ago. I have a question for you, and this is a totally self-interested question. I'm literally just, if there was no recording happening right now, this is the question I would ask you. So I very much know what that feels like, that desperation. You know, so a lot of times I see people struggle with motivation. I'm like, I'm sorry, man, you're not desperate enough. Like, you know, you just got to either create it for yourself. If you need to do that, I guess do it. In the long run, it'll be good for you, but hopefully you can harness it some other way. So that for me, that was 2008, rock bottom, divorce, depression, same kind of dark thoughts.
Yeah.
For me, I was almost $500,000 in debt from a couple failed franchises. And I was a piano player. They never should have given me the loans in the first place. So I was like, my hand was injured. I couldn't even go play gigs. And that was that same desperation, man. I went online and I was 14, 16, 18-hour days of just, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out for like months and months. So the people were convinced I was addicted to porn, because when a guy's locked in a room for 14 hours a day looking at the internet and said, leave me alone, like, you know,
right.
And eventually, you know what? So yeah, I've been there, and in a way, I feel like I've been running from that moment ever since, or fighting away from that moment ever since. Like, I never want to go back there. But that fear, that sympathetic nervous system response can only take you so far. And for me, it's only been in the last year or two that I've been like, okay, I'm definitely never going to have to go back to that place. Like, I've got it. I'm good. So what now? And that's when I started my education business. It was September 2018. And I say, hey, this is what saved my life, literally almost to a point. Let me share this with other people and teach other people. But now every day I have to wake up and I'm almost scared that I'm not scared anymore.
Right.
So I'm curious, for you, you're at least 5 years ahead of me on that curve. What is it every day that you can go back to that give you the same fire and the same drive when you realistically aren't that scared anymore?
Well, you have to continue to take risk, right? So I definitely still take risk that I think most would think are a little outrageous, right? I'm a creator. I'm a visionary. I'm still always trying to figure out something that is compelling to me, that I feel like, you know, I can push my businesses and my life together, or further, I should say. But, you know, bigger than that, you know, the big question that drives me every day, it has become very, very important to me that two things happen in my life. One, that my kids see me pushing, right? And so that's what I think about. Like, it would be very simple for me to not push. But I want my kids to understand what it looks like to fight for a dream and never stop fighting. And I don't want them to hear me talk about it. I want to show them and demonstrate what it looks like every day. And so, yeah, it's important that I know my kids are watching me every day. And it's a thought that is very prolific in my head, where I'm painfully aware that I know they're going to model whatever I do. And there are points in their lives where it's important to me that they model hard work, and that they model suffering and paying the price and doing what's necessary to attain whatever you're trying to accomplish in their lives, without being, me trying to force them in any way, shape, or form. The second thing that really pushes me, quite frankly, is I go back to, it's not hard to figure out how big a role time plays in my life. You know, I've lost a business that I invested a ton of time in. I had my mentor when I was 42 years old, who had built a wildly successful business, but spent a great deal of time traveling to do it, away from his family, only to retire when he was 60 years old and had a big golden parachute of $30 million. And within a few months of retiring, got diagnosed with cancer. And within a few months of that, I was holding his hand as he passed away in Daytona Beach, Florida. And in that moment, I would never forget, you know, because he was all hooked up to a ventilator and everything, but he wrote on a whiteboard to me, you know, I just wish I had more time. And it had a huge impact on me that here he was, had worked his entire life to create wealth and create all these things. And this effort to get to this, I guess, finish line of the bullshit that we're sold, you know, that at some point you're going to retire, at some point you're going to get to this thing. And he got there. And when he got there, you know, within a matter of a few months, the only thing he wanted was time. And it's the one thing that all that money couldn't buy him. And so that, and then my wife and I were in a near plane crash a few years later. So I had these things that happened in my life that really kind of were hard hits to the gut. Like, man, you got to get dialed in on this, because stop acting like the world is yours. Stop acting like you've got time on your hands. Stop acting like you'll get to anything. You need to get to it. Get to the living. Get to the experiences. Get to collecting the moments, and stop collecting all the bullshit. Do what you've got to do right now to create and demonstrate what it looks like to have an amazing life today, right? Because your kids are watching, people are watching, and you have the ability, and this is my conversation to me, you have the ability to create real impact in the world. So stop wasting this gift. And those are the types of internal conversations that I have all the time. And so back to what I was going to tell you that I think about quite often is I want to have mattered, right? And that's it. Like, I want to have mattered, right? Business is business, life is life. But, you know, have I done enough in the world with my students, my members, the people I've touched, the people I've helped educate, the people I've helped rattle their cage and wake them up, that, you know, if I passed away tomorrow, would somebody get on an airplane and fly to San Diego, California, where my two little girls are sitting on that front row next to my casket, and make the effort to just walk up and shake their hands and say, your dad mattered? And if I am doing anything in a day that's anything short of trying to create that reality, then I feel like I got work to do.
It's beautifully said, man. I'm glad I asked the question. How old are your kids?
I have a 27-year-old son, a 14-year-old daughter, and a 6-year-old daughter.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. I have a 17 and 16-year-old boys. Yeah, I want them to see it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's no greater gift that you could give, right? And, you know, I'm asked quite often, how the hell did you go and start a business when you're 17 and turn it into this thing? And I was raised in an entrepreneurial family, right? I sat there and watched my father do things, and I modeled it. And I was given a great gift there. And so I know what that gift is, right? I was never taught to go to college. I was never taught to go buy into making somebody else's dreams come true at the expense of mine. I was never going to, you know, be bribed out of my own dream. I mean, I'm 150% unemployable, proudly. And I know that that's just not the case for most people, right? That is a massive gift that you can give your kids. And if you act like they're watching, it matters.
Yeah, I noticed a post on your Instagram when I was researching you / lightly stalking you for before the show. It says, I just pulled it out. It says, how in the hell could a man enjoy being awakened at 6:30 a.m. by an alarm clock, leap out of bed, dress, force feed, shit, piss, brush teeth and hair, fight traffic to get to a place where essentially you make lots of money for somebody else, and you're supposed to be grateful for the opportunity to do so? By the way, that's Charles Bukowski, who's just awesome. Yeah, I mean, that pretty much says it, right?
100%. I mean, but, you know, you got to understand, we both clearly understand that the vast majority of the people that'll hear this podcast or be exposed to either of us over the years, that's the dream that they had bought into, and they're trying to break free. So I have a healthy appreciation that it's not easy, but I do understand that once you get on the other side, giving that gift to your children and not allowing them to buy into that bullshit is a massive gift.
Amen. I appreciate you sharing that, and frankly, edifying what I'm doing. I mean, 2 teenage boys, they're right at that age where every day is a they're either going this way or that way, right? Yeah. So let me ask you another question, again, out of total self-interest. So you run you run companies. We would both be royally screwed if no one in the world wanted to be an employee. Because
right, totally.
Employing a bunch of entrepreneurs sounds like hell to me.
Well, ironically, it's interesting. I just had this conversation a couple of days ago. It would be extremely hypocritical of me to not actively try to awaken the entrepreneurial spirit inside of my own employees, which I actively try to do. Now, clearly that doesn't always work. But when it does, and somebody has to leave, and they've got to go fight for their own dreams, man, I'm all in. I mean, because I wear it as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
If I've inspired somebody enough and educated somebody enough inside of my own ranks to go and do their own thing, hallelujah. Let's make that happen, right? And a lot of people run from that. It's a huge fear when people have of hiring people, right? Oh my God, what if I train them and they leave? Right? You know what? Okay, what's the alternative? Sit on your ass and work for yourself forever? I mean, why you're gonna go
or train them poorly so they're not qualified.
Yeah. Let me train them let me give them a shitty experience so they'll do a really bad job. I mean, come on. Right? So what choice do you have? If you want to be great, and still great. And anytime you put great out there, sometimes great's going to spread its wings and leave. It is what it is.
Yeah, I love that. It really is just having an abundance perspective in the world. That there's not going to be a scarcity of quality for me if I inspire greatness in someone else.
100%. It's not a zero-sum game, right? Exactly. It's not binary, right? Somebody doesn't have to lose in order for you to win.
Yeah. Well said. Well, man, I honestly, again, out of self-interest, I wish we had more time, but I know that we don't. Well,
let's do it again. At some point, let's schedule another one, man. I'm happy to come on here. I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know. And that's it. Yeah, me too. But at some point, the 24-minute block has to end, right? You've given me some food for thought on that one for sure. I'm like, man, my 10 minutes could be 8 minutes. I could be saving 2 minutes all over the place, right? But no, so people hopefully, undoubtedly are inspired and attracted to this conversation. Where do they go get more Kent Clothier in their life?
Well, you can go to kentclothier.com, or you can find me on Facebook or on Instagram. Both handles are at Kent Clothier. I'm easy to find, and I would love to connect.
Cool. Yeah. And like I mentioned, I've been perusing your Instagram for a while now, ever since you booked for the show, and I'm getting huge value. Honestly, I'm a fan. So I encourage everyone to go check that out. I will let the audience know that we've also, as most people know from my world, that I have a book called The Millionaire Shortcut. It's a very short, very quick read that is on my perspective of the fastest way to become successful in the digital economy. Internet business is kind of my gig, and I package it all in here. And we've put together a site, millionairesecrets.com/KentC. So we'll know that you were inspired from this episode. Go check that out. Make sure you grab that. And Kent, I'm just grateful that you stepped onto the Millionaire Secrets show for a time. Thanks for being here.
No, dude, it's been great. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the next time.
Yes, sir. Thank you for watching Millionaire Secrets. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and leave us a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you know whenever we release a new episode. Also, if you want to learn the fastest way to become a millionaire in the new economy, click the link in the description below to claim your free copy of my book, The Millionaire Shortcut. And don't forget, Millionaire Secrets is available on all the major podcast platforms as well. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you can listen on the go. Thanks for watching.